Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel, StrangeNet here. So it's been a funny old couple of weeks. I've actually been on the internet long enough that I've actually spawned my first meme that I'm aware of. Finally put the picture up that I won at one of the organised CCP meets in Nottingham, England last year. If anybody knows the artist, if he could drop me a line for this or a website link, then I'll put it in the description for anybody that's interested. But it is a wonderful piece of art and I love it. If you haven't had the opportunity to go to one of the organised CCP meets, then I would highly recommend it. I had a really good time and again, yeah, would recommend. And so thirdly, I have sold all my Tech 2 BPOs. Now, I had said in previous videos, a couple of years ago, that I was going to collect these. I had no intentions of selling them, and that was generally the case at the time of buying these BPOs. Now, this is probably going to be quite a long video with me talking quite a lot, so if that's your thing, stay around. If it's not, then I bid you farewell, sir. I had somebody approach me just before Christmas, probably about the start of December to be perfectly honest, and said that they were interested in buying some Tech 2 BPOs from me. At the time I said that I'm not particularly interested. However, I had these for sale and that I had the Tech 2 co-processor, I had the Scourge, Rage Torpedo and the Nova Fury heavy missile. At the time I said, yeah, I don't really want to part with them, but again, I would do for a ludicrous amount of ISK. And the person came back to me and said, what's a ludicrous amount of ISK? And I said, I will... They specifically said, for the co-processor, what price? And I said, 150 billion. The person gave a funny kind of squint, said, well, that's a lot of ISK. I said, yeah, I know it's a lot of ISK. I'm fully aware of that. But, you know, I don't really want to get rid of it. However, you know, if you offer that, I'll get rid of it. And the guy said, I'll have to think about it. I'll get back to you before the new year. And off they went. And for 29 days, I didn't hear a sausage from them. And I didn't really expect them to come back, to be perfectly honest. But lo and behold, 4 hours till midnight, New Year's Eve, the gentleman came back and said, yep, 150 billion ISK, I'm ready to go. Told you I'd be back. Put up the contract, and lo and behold, 2 hours after, give or take, I was 150 billion ISK up from where I'd started. Now, I bought the BPO for about 65 billion ISK 2.5, 3 years ago. And yeah, I obviously came out quite nicely on that. Didn't necessarily want to sell it, but again, since the change, collapse, amendment, renegotiation of the TTT in perimeter, with the trade consortium changing, I haven't done anything since they were taken down, really, because I used to do it all in the TTT. Due to the fact that they were quick, they were efficient, due to the fact that they were T2 BPOs, I could still make a profit without a lot of hassle of travelling and moving stuff a great distance. Obviously, with them going down, I moved them all down into NPC stations. I've not really been comfortable moving them back into player-owned stations since, due to the value of the BPOs and the fact that I don't know who owns what structures and I haven't really felt comfortable. So they've just been left in NPC stations kind of rotting, not doing much. And a great example here is, again, I'd not used them a great deal over the period, and the co-processor here is a great example that I'd had 8,000 sitting in my hangar just ready to sell, and sold the BPO and again get rid. Obviously put a ludicrously large order there. They'll sell sooner or later, and if they don't, I'll just amend it. We're looking 21 million broker fee, so when that gets down to a day or two left, I'll amend that if they've not sold. But they've been selling slowly but surely. I think we started with about 8,500. We've sold, what, 700, 800 there, so they're going to go slowly but surely. I'm in no rush. So yeah, Tech 2 BPOs haven't been seeded on the haven't been seeded in games since about 2005. So the value of these things is high. The utility of these used to be money-making machines back in the day, and I'll give you a great example. The Cap Recharger 2, back in about 2005, I think it was. And again, I've looked and I've checked. I'm sure the guy's name was Anu. Now, whether he had a surname, second name, for whether I can't find the guy, whether he's deleted his account or whatnot, but he was one of the lucky people that that won one of these in the lottery. There was a lottery system that was done with RP, research points, and basically you accumulated points and you went to a lottery system and these were pulled out. There were some dodgy going-ons, with some alliance benefiting directly without having to go through the lottery, but again, that's a different story entirely, and I have covered it before. But the vast majority, I believe, I hope, were given out in this kind of lottery system. And anyway, this guy had got a Tech 2 Cap Recharger, and you can see here that these currently sell for 580,000 ISK, and I think you can build in a parcel. At the time it would have been a parcel wherever, or in a station, you can probably build 5 or 6 of these per hour, and this guy would sell them for 25 million ISK each on the market. They were kind of a consortium by the sounds of it, almost like OPEC really, that they'd all kind of gathered together, everybody that owned a Tech 2 Recharge, and they would put them on the market. And 25 mil was pretty much in 2005 for about 3 or 4 years till Invention came in. I can't quite recall when Invention came in, but they had a monopoly on these, and you could get them from the guy directly for 5 million, but you were under strict instructions that you were not allowed to sell these, and that basically they were for personal use only. And again, they were 5 million ISK each. So 5 million to 25 million, 7 an hour. The amount of ISK that this guy must have made over that time is absolutely ludicrous. We're looking in the high hundreds of billions, possibly trillions by the time you get down to it. Now, what the cost was to actually produce these at the time, I obviously don't know. We're talking 20 years ago coming on, but again, even if they were 1 million each, it was making 4 million every hour on 6 to 7 recharges, and again did that for years before Invention came out. So, and again, that was the same with a lot of the Tech 2 at BPOs, that you could, they were money printing machines if you managed to get one initially. And then Invention came out and that made them slightly worse. Not a huge amount. You still needed to, Invention wasn't as good as it is nowadays. Less of the data cryptors, I believe, were available. The data cores were a lot more expensive. You could only get them through research points. They weren't available initially through faction warfare, so that made Invention very expensive. You also needed a maxed BPC, so if you were doing the co-processor, you would need a well, let's do the Cap Recharger. In fact, no, let's do the Co-Pro. You would need a maxed, oh god, I can't think of my words. You would need a maxed BPC. So let's have a look. How long is that going to take? Research, go nearest place. So it would take you 17 hours just to do a one, and that would consume the whole BPC. I'm pretty sure it used to consume the whole BPC. So basically it would need to be a maxed one to get 10 runs on it. And it would consume the whole lot, and it would either fail or not fail. And again, you'd have to do, and that was the same with, I don't think it was the same with ships. It was definitely with the modules, or the modules, the utility bits, anything that wasn't a ship, or and guns acted the same way. So basically, you would need a full BPC in order to get a max 10 run, and obviously that takes 17 hours. It probably takes even more in an NPC station, yeah, so 1 day. So you'd need another alt running BPCs for you, just so you could invent a 10 run from a max copy. So over the years, CCP has made it less profitable and easier to do. So now, obviously, you can, or anybody that's done it, you don't need a max run. So a 200 run means I can run 200 invention copies or invention runs from this one copy. And I can do that all in a one or so. Assuming it's a 200, yeah. Copy run, but you can't do it. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Either way, you can run as many invention jobs as you have runs on that BPC, and it doesn't affect the outcome whatsoever. And I'm pretty sure in the past, again, this, don't quote me on this one, but the ME would have been inferior if it was a less than perfect or less than max run copy. If anybody can confirm that, I'm pretty sure that was right, that you would get a worse ME. I might be tripping on that part. Seems right, but then it doesn't. I'm sure -4 was always the case. But either way, over the years, you know, that advantage has been eroded slowly but surely. And if we, again, we'll go back to the coprocessor because it's just one that we've got here. And now let's have a look at the advantage that you get. So we want that. We want to copy it. That in there. And so the invention cost for this is we've got a 46% chance by all 300, and so again you're going to need to do it twice, so it's going to cost you 700,000 ISK to do 10 runs, so 70,000 ISK per run. And in order to, or is it minus? No, we don't want the plus, we want it invented. Go back. I think I'm tripping. So that, give or take, 7.5 million, 7.5, plus the cost, what we're looking at, 850, 860. So again, a decent-ish enough. You're making 180,000. That's from the invention, and if you do it without the 700, so basically the thing that you're looking at is the data cores, and it's costing you 70,000 ISK for each invention copy. So from the BPO to the BPC, other than a little bit of material installation, so you're looking for using a BPO versus a BPC, you're saving 100k per unit, which is 10%. So not a terrible amount, not a great amount, not a substantial amount, but it makes it worthwhile. And the nice thing about the BPOs is obviously you can put them in for a run that is 30 days without all the hassle of invention. So they are very useful, they are very handy, and yeah, you know, you can do it for 30 days, you don't have to worry about it, you come back and you've got 1,800. If you do it in a somewhere else, you can obviously produce quite a lot more. So that's the advantage that you generally get from having a BPO that is a Tech 2, that you can put it in for a longer time and you don't have the hassle of doing the invention and the copying of the BPOs, or the BPOs, the Tech 1 BPOs. So that saves a lot of time, a lot of hassle, but you do pay through the nose in the hundreds, potentially hundreds of billions of ISK for the BPOs. Now, I have always liked the Tech 2 BPOs. They are a legacy item, as we said, that they can no longer be gotten in-game, and you can only buy them off other players. And I wonder if there's any, there was one for sale. Let's have a look. And again, ludicrous prices, but again, you know, people do have a lot of ISK, and they are collector's items, and they do often accumulate in value over time, so they can be a good investment if you get them for the right price. 250 billion ISK for a dual beam heavy, it seems very high, but again, people do buy it and people hold on, they produce them, and then again you can sell the BPO hopefully at the end of it for a little bit of profit. So there are obviously advantages to having them. Now, I often come across the buy Plex, hold Plex, make a fortune. Plex is not somewhere where you will generally make money from holding. Plex is a great place to hedge against inflation. Obviously, if you've looked at the MER, there is more ISK generally entering the system than there is leaving. Now, obviously, accounts go dormant, people disappear for weeks, months, years on end, and ISK is taken out that way. So it's hard always to tell ISK coming in versus ISK going out, or ISK velocity and where it's used. But all in all, inflation is real in EVE, and ways to make ISK have slowly over the years become easier. You can make more ISK in a shorter time than you used to be able to in the past. 30 mil back in 2005 was considered a good income from belt ratting. Goodness gracious. If you were lucky, you were pulling in 50 mil, again, an hour at the very most. That was considered good. Level 4s didn't really exist, and again, they were paying 30 odd mil an hour, even if you could do them. So nowadays, you've got abyssal sites that you can be pulling in 500 mil an hour. So inflation is real. Things have gotten easier. There are better ways of making ISK, or more efficient ways. Yada, yada, yada. Plex has gone up. You used to be able to buy a 30-day time card back in 2005 for about 300 million ISK. And obviously, if you'd bought a lot and you'd saved it, your 300 million ISK would now be worth 2.8 billion ISK. So, yes, but again, that has gone up, tracking inflation in general. And we saw that with the, because this is linked to real money and has real game application, we saw it with the 25% increase in cost of a 30-day subscription, that the 20% or 25% increase in the cost resulted in a 30% jump in the price of Plex, which is the price that we have nowadays, which started somewhere over here, but is, and again, is very stable. Does that mean inflation is stable? It could actually well be. But people, it's come to an equilibrium where people are willing to pay. It's enough time. People are willing to sell their Plex, and therefore the market is generally stable. CCP give deals and that, and we get spikes, etc. But all in all, the price has been relatively flat. So Plex is a great place, but if you're going anywhere for any length of time and you don't want to lose value of the ISK that you have, you put it in Plex, and you shouldn't be any poorer generally by the time you come back to game, because if the value, the increased inflation, Plex should roughly track it. I can't remember a time when we've had a deflation in EVE. And we have had Plex prices drop over the years in certain aspects, but all in all, it's a good place to store ISK. It's not a great place to make ISK, where the Tech 2 BPOs have always had that kind of rarity factor and that value where you do, and some utility as well. You can actually use them to produce some ISK. Not as much as you used to, but again, it's still a nice thing. And then at the end of it, when you've got bored of them, like I have, you can sell them, hopefully for more money than you bought them for. And again, you know, I purchased the Scourge Rage BPO, and I bought that for 60 billion ISK, and I sold that for 100. The Nova, I think I bought for about 40 or 50 bill. I sold that for 100. And again, the meme at the start, I bought a Barrage BPO 60, 65. 65 sounds about right. Might have been 70, 75. Sold that for 100. Then bought another one for 85 billion. Was kind of accused of flipping it on the forums. It was a different person. It wasn't me. Hence the meme that spawned. But nevertheless, I did manage to sell the one that I had bought there for 100 bill. So it's been some quick, easy ISK there in regards to just flipping and selling. But again, they'd lost their utility for me, so I didn't see the point in holding them, and that hopefully I could put the ISK to better use elsewhere. And it's kind of led me to a similar but different situation that Mr. Aceface has found himself in. Now, if you aren't aware, Aceface, YouTuber, he is doing a trillion ISK giveaway, which is a ludicrous sum of ISK, I'm not going to lie, that he has found that he has accumulated through referrals and the rest of it, and one way or another, and he has decided that it is stifling his gameplay, so he is giving it away. So if you aren't aware or you want to get in on it, then I would highly recommend reckoning over to his channel, and yeah, getting yourself involved in that, you may win some of that trillion ISK. One of the trillion ISK, Christ, there's a lot of scope there for people to win. I don't know quite how he's going to distribute it and what he's doing with it and how he intends to distribute it, but in his own words, he is giving the vast majority of it away because he's finding the game boring because he's got too much ISK. Now, I have now a decent amount of ISK in liquid after selling the Diablo 2, the T2 blueprints, that I've also got in a roundabout kind of way, or a similar situation. I have found myself sat on a big pile of ISK and not as many things to do with it, and it's causing me some sleepless nights, but I want to get it invested and I want to move it out because it's just sat there kind of looking at me, tempting me to go buy silly expensive things like Titans and other things that I really don't need. But sometimes having, and again it's first world problems, sometimes having too much is a bit of a burden, and I can already feel the comments of "give it to me, I'm poor, please." But you know, it doesn't stifle my gameplay necessarily. I am looking for other places to put it and to make it go to work to do other things. And yeah, it's an interesting problem to have, and it's not necessarily a bad problem, but it is there, and it's not a problem I've ever really had to deal with. I've never really had much over 100 billion ISK in the wallet, and yeah, currently I'm sat on 300 billion in the wallet, 100 bill in the corp hanger, not the corp hanger, the corp wallet, and 300 billion ISK in Plex. So I am waiting for Plex to go down so I can buy some more, because you can always do stuff with Plex. Plex is always handy, whether it's deals and things that CCP are bringing out. So I'll probably park a good proportion of it in Plex, to be perfectly honest, until I find an actual either use for it, need for it, or what I'm going to do with it. I've also potentially looked at Alliance tournament ships. Now, tournament ships, I think, don't quote me on this again, I specifically feel that it was 25 cruisers that they used to give out, or was it like 10 cruisers and 20 frigates 5 years ago, or however long before the new format came out, where first, second, third and fourth prize would share 25, 20, 15 ships, etc. So I feel that there's a lot more Alliance tournament ships than they used to be given out now. Well, that doesn't necessarily diminish the price a great deal, but it means obviously there's a lot more floating around, and paying 300 billion ISK for a ship and hoping that it's going to go up in a decent amount of ISK is feasible, and it is likely to happen, but it's quite a lot to invest on the hope that, and again we saw it with the Genealotion pods recently, that something that was 10 years old, that was in the 10-year anniversary pack, was redone in game, that you could buy with real money. And I don't imagine they'll ever do that with Alliance ships, but you could find that they recycle some of the Alliance tournament ships. So I don't know, for Freaky or whatever, that they start recycling some of the ones that are 10 years old in the upcoming Alliance tournaments, and then all of a sudden the ship that you've got devalues massively in price, or isn't going to go up as much. And yeah, you know, so there's a lot of risk involved in holding unique assets. And again, that's been exactly the same for the Tech 2 BPOs. You know, obviously, as I said, they've got less efficient over the years, but thankfully their rarity has only got more so, where they're never going to release Tech 2 BPOs again, but they could potentially release Alliance tournament ships again. And again, it's like, yeah, is it a risk I'm willing to take? I'm not quite sure. So yeah, so the start of 2014 got my picture up, became a meme, called out by a YouTuber, all good fun. So yeah, it's been, I haven't done much in regards to videos this year so far. I do intend to ramp it up, so my sincere apologies for not having more out. I must say that the giveaway that I did spawned about 400 contracts, which I must say did burn me out massively. When I did the last giveaway for the 100 billion ISK in skins, Flex, and the of the Marshal, I hadn't really taken into account the sheer amount of people that would comment, and I do appreciate all the people that have taken the time to comment. And again, I think it took me about 7 hours total to do all the contracts that I needed to do, which was painfully awful and has put me off doing anything since, I must say. So yeah, so my sincere apologies for not doing much content recently, but again, I haven't had a huge amount to talk about, or a huge amount to do, or a huge amount that I've wanted to talk about, so I'm not just putting videos out there for the sake of doing it. And yeah, you know, when I've got something to say, I'll put it out there, and here we are. So if you made it this far, I do appreciate it. I hope that was interesting. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope it gave some insight. And again, just trying to give some perspective to where I am in my head and where I am in game and what I'm generally looking at and what I'm generally trying to do. And the reasons why I no longer have any Tech 2 BPOs, I guess. So with that, thanks for your time. Thanks for listening. Do appreciate it. And I'll talk to you again soon.